Welcome to Water Talk with Paul the Waterman, brought to you by Water Pros. Paul the Waterman is Colorado's expert on all things related to the water we use and drink in our homes. Have you ever thought about where your water actually comes from? Is it safe to drink? Is it harmful to my health, my skin, my hair? Paul the Waterman knows water, and he has the answers. Haystack Help Radio proudly presents Water Talk. Now here's your host, Scott Watley, and owner of Water Pros, Paul the Waterman.
Old Ann and I, with throats burnt dry and souls that cry for water, water, cool water, clear water,
And we'd like to welcome you to Water Talk. My name is Scott Watley, but the important man in the room is Paul the Waterman. Our show is brought to you by Water Pros. Their number is 303-862-5554. Mr. Paul Dowding joins us, the owner of Water Pros. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well, man. Hey, already, man, it feels like all the holidays were a month ago now.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 months ago.
Well, pretty soon we're going to be halfway through this month.
Yep, exactly.
It just flies by. But, you know, today, now more than ever, and I've said this before, but we've got more information, alarming information, that came out of the Los Angeles Times article. And we're going to talk today about the discovery of nanoplastics in bottled drinking water. And it's an alarming issue, nanoplastics, because it's a contaminant that's so small that it penetrates our bloodstream, our blood cells, even through into our brain cells, and so that's something that we're going to discuss. And think about this: in the last month alone, we've talked about microplastics being found in all samples of water taken in Colorado. Mm-hmm. You showed me, articles that you found about microplastics being found in our snow. Right. And then we also have the PFAS contamination that we first started talking about, the spring into the summer, and now they've added 189 chemicals to the PFAS family. So if we take PFAS, forever chemical contamination, then we take the microplastics. Now we have nanoplastics, which is alarming to me. Folks that drink bottled water, and this study was done at Columbia University, and they did 3 major brands. So they wouldn't say what 3, but common sense would tell you it's probably the top 3 selling bottled water.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So they have nanoplastics, and then also in the article they talked about having nylon fibers, and the nylon fibers came from the reverse osmosis membranes that these bottled water companies use. So what that tells me is that they're overusing their membranes. They're not properly maintaining them, or they're not properly pre-treating the water before it gets to, the reverse osmosis, that provides the bottled water.
Right.
And with these microplastics, what's really concerning is the potential health effects when it gets into your cells. And what it does is it affects basically the organs of the cell. So they're calling organelles. Help me pronounce ORGANELLES. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So that organelles.
Organelles looks like. Yeah.
Okay. So what that is that's basically the organs of your cells, to kind of give you an idea what that means. So these nanoplastics can affect basically the cellular health, and this is in water that we're drinking.
Right. I mean, it'd be nice if the only thing we heard in water and the word plastic involved is just what the container is made of.
Correct.
Not that it's in water, right?
All right. Well, so years ago they came out with you shouldn't drink bottled water, and if the case of water or the bottled water that you use was sitting in direct sunlight. And that's something that they came out. But this is something that they've known that's been going on for years. Mm-hmm. And so think about this. When you and I were young, and people out there, Scott and I are pretty old, but when we were young, everything was glass milk.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Glass bottles of pop, right? And,
Sure.
and so when we switched to plastic, we were fooled because that was like, oh, it's going to be better for the environment. And clearly it's not.
Right.
And so instead of using recyclable glass, remember when we used to take you'd buy your pop in a case of bottles.
Oh, and go sell them.
And go sell them and take them back and turn them in and or
Kids today would look at us like we've lost our mind. You did what?
Yeah, you got a nickel, and so if you found bottles, you took them to the little neighborhood store, and you could buy 5 cents, penny candies.
You could buy a candy bar back then, man.
Right. Yeah. So, but listen, on a serious note, all our listeners out there, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you, and I appreciate this platform, but our water quality clearly is not safe. This is very alarming.
Yeah. And, we were looking at some articles over these last couple of days, you and I, even over the last few years, where this word microplastics has come up. But again, the media, I think there's so many things going on in the world. Of course, you'll see global warming, all the things like that they think are more important. But, man, I can't think of anything that's more real than this.
And I've been trying to tell everybody, your water quality is more important than anything else out there because water is 100% life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything that's a part of our life requires water. From the food that we grow, the food that we eat, the meat, the poultry, the pork that we like to eat. We had did we have a prime rib for Christmas or a Christmas ham or a Christmas turkey? Water. And microplastics are particles that range from 1 micrometer to 5 millimeters in size. And so these things have been documented that they're part of our bottle and tap water for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's raising alarms is that these nanoplastic particles, they measure just billionths of a meter. See how small that is? Billions.
Right.
So microplastics at 1 micrometer or 5 millimeters are hard to see. You don't see that. And this is what's in the snow and it's in our rain. I mean, it's everywhere. But now we have to worry about nanoplastics and particles that are measuring in a billionths of a meter. And so the problem I see here, the health effects, potential health effects, is, you could get pollutants and pathogens can be carried on the surfaces of these nanoplastics and microplastics. And the smaller the particle gets, the larger its surface area to volume ratio becomes. So what this means is that they're telling you that you can get diseases that can attach to these nanoplastics, microplastics, and we're ingesting them in the food and then the water that we drink. So then folks that go out and buy bottled water and thinking they're drinking something that's safe is truly not.
Yeah. And I guarantee some people may just say they do it for convenience, but I think most people, if you were to ask them, you've seen the deals where they do on some of these late night shows where they go out and talk to people on the streets and ask them questions. And if they were just asked you, do you think bottled water is more safe than your tap? I think everybody would say yes.
Right. We have to. This is where we have to sound the alarm and become, make this aware. One of the things they said is that in this article is that research on the effects of plastic on human health is still in its infancy. It's only become recent that scientists have identified the presence of plastics in people's bodies and organs. So it's there. See, right. This goes back to the question I've asked before. I think they know, how many, contaminants are in water, and then they're not saying anything. And then when you get the Los Angeles Times, this was published January 8th. And so it's out there right now. But again, it was buried. I had, the Crack News team. I have Water Pros, Eyewitness News team all over.
And you know what? Here's the thing, too. And think about that. You and I, we kind of got to research to find this stuff. You know why? Because if they were to put that on the front page I don't know who reads.
Well,
the
why isn't it
newspaper
though?
anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
but why isn't it
Right.
there?
Right.
And so, even all most of us could get our news online today. Why isn't this something that all these different, news periodicals and again, we see it on TV, but they kind of gloss over it sometimes because I don't think they really understand it. Like if they had Paul the Waterman on the set where he could set them straight.
Right. That could raise the alarm issue here. I mean, technically, in my opinion, not to sound silly or corny, but red alert, right? I mean, our water quality. This is extremely serious. Now, how to fix this is with our reverse osmosis point of use RO system is nanofiltration. However, ladies and gentlemen, water treatment isn't plug and play. So you really need to know the water quality, meaning water hardness. And that's where the water softener comes in, because the water softener then allows the reverse osmosis to function at its highest level to ensure that it's getting out the desired contaminants we want. And so in this article, it states when, the bottled water that they tested, by having nylon fibers, which is what an RO membrane is made of, that means that they're not properly maintaining their water filtration equipment. They're not changing the membranes properly. RO systems require pre-treatment. An RO is designed to operate in soft water. I've seen too many situations where people are using RO membranes for pre-treatment. So I've been in a couple of scenarios where folks have 2 RO membranes for pre-treatment, and then 2 more RO membranes used for polishing and treating the water. And in RO, I've seen one guy where they had copper pipe screwed into the membrane, and that's basically there to force the membrane to handle the water pressure. Because normally these connections are a 1/4 inch. They're called John Guest connections. And, that's something that's it's like if folks live out in the farm, it's like the hydraulic connection for your tractor, right? When you're, hooking up the manure spreader or corn wagon, you got a hydraulic connection. That's what these John Guest, fittings are. You connect them, and they're pressure resistant and they hold. But they're also designed to be a quick disconnect so you can properly maintain and change the filters. These people were connecting the system with copper, which was negative in the first place because RO membranes are nanofiltration, so it's going to take everything out of the water, causing the water to be acidic, and then acidic water with any kind of copper connection can leach copper. Okay. But with this article, it talks about, what this also proves, that misusing reverse osmosis membranes, which everybody does, then you're going to cause those fibers to rip and tear, and it's going to be in their product. So that means if you got nanoplastics in the water supply, that's only because of misuse of the equipment in filtering the water.
Wow.
But plastics are all over the water.
Now, before our break here, you told me this morning you got a call and somebody listens to the show, wants you to come out and take a look at things. I think one thing that from what we're hearing just from your customers, so this isn't us just patting ourselves on the back here, I think it's the education that this show is bringing to people. Not in an alarming way, but it just gets people to thinking about things because they don't know. They're not hearing about it anywhere else but here on just about our water quality. And I think that's what's making your phone ring from our listeners.